Imagine waking up one day and realizing that most of the choices you made what you agreed to, how you reacted. Even what you thought was your own decision were quietly influenced by someone else. Not through threats, not through arguments, not through force, but through subtle psychological tricks powerful enough to guide your behavior without you even noticing. Most people walk through life thinking they are fully in control of their thoughts, their actions, and their decisions. But the uncomfortable truth is that the human mind can be steered incredibly, and the people who understand these hidden psychological triggers can shape conversations, emotions, and outcomes with almost no effort. In Tisby, though, you are going to discover 5 dark psychology tricks that can secretly influence anyone. These are not dramatic, Hollywood-style mind control techniques. These are small, invisible manipulations that happen in everyday situations, at work, in relationships, during negotiations, and even in casual conversations. And the craziest part? Most of the time, the person being influenced has no idea it's happening. So before we go any further, understand this. What you're about to learn is extremely powerful. Use it wisely, use it ethically, and most importantly, use it to protect yourself from people who may already be using these techniques on you. Human psychology is a collection of hidden patterns, shortcuts, and emotional reflexes that help us survive. But those same patterns can be used against us. When someone understands how your brain responds to choices, emotions, attention, and pressure, they can guide you without appearing controlling. That is the foundation of dark psychology, not magic. Not manipulation in a dramatic sense, but the strategic use of human behavior to influence outcomes. These techniques are used everywhere. Sales agents who get you to buy something you don't need. Coworkers who make you take on more work. Friends who push you into decisions. Partners who twist your emotions. All of them rely on psychological principles that operate beneath your awareness. This video is not about making you a manipulator. It's about giving you the knowledge most people never get exposed to. By understanding these 5 tricks, you can recognize when someone is subtly steering your choices. You can defend yourself against manipulation, and you can communicate more effectively in your daily life. Whether you're negotiating, leading, persuading, or simply interacting with others, these insights will give you a deeper understanding of the invisible forces that shape human behavior. So let's dive into the first dark psychology trick and prepare to see the world a little differently. One of the most subtle and effective dark psychology tactics is the illusion of choice. This technique works by giving someone multiple options, but all the options ultimately lead to the outcome you want. The brilliance of this trick is that the person still feels like they are in control. In reality, the decision has already been shaped by the structure of the choices. Human beings naturally dislike feeling controlled, so when someone believes they are freely choosing, their resistance drops dramatically. This is why salespeople, negotiators, and even parents use this tactic all the time. For example, instead of asking someone, "Do you want to help me with this project?" you ask, "Would you rather help today or tomorrow?" Either answer results in their participation, and yet they feel respected because they got to choose. The mind rarely questions the existence of the choices presented it. Simply picks from what's available. Skilled manipulators understand this, and they design options that push someone toward a predetermined result without ever appearing forceful. Used ethically, the choice illusion helps reduce conflict and keeps conversations smooth. Used manipulatively, it silently takes away freedom while making the person believe they're in control. Next up is the foot-in-the-door technique, which works on a simple psychological rule. Once a person agrees to something small, they are far more likely to agree to something bigger later. This principle relies on the human need for consistency. When people say yes, even to a tiny request, they begin to see themselves as someone who supports you, trusts you, or aligns with your direction. By the time you present the bigger request, they feel an unconscious pressure to stay consistent with their previous action. This tactic is deeply powerful because it bypasses logical resistance. Let's say you want someone to support a large idea. Instead of presenting the major request up front, you start with something minimal. Asking for their opinion, asking for a small favor, or getting a tiny level of commitment. Once they participate, even slightly, their mind becomes more open. Later, when the real request comes, it feels like a natural progression rather than a sudden imposition. Manipulators love this technique because it appears harmless on the surface. The victim often never realizes how they were slowly conditioned into agreement. But when used ethically, This principle can improve communication, encourage cooperation, and build trust in a progressive, non-threatening way. Now for our third trick, mirroring. This is one of the most powerful psychological tools for creating instant connection and lowering a person's defenses. It works by subtly copying the other person's tone, posture, gestures, or speech patterns. When this is done smoothly, the mind perceives the mirrored behavior as familiarity, almost as if the other person is just like us. And humans trust people who feel similar to them. What makes mirroring so dangerous is that it operates subconsciously. Most people don't notice when someone is matching their energy or communication style, yet their brain picks up the similarity and interprets it as comfort, safety, and understanding. Manipulators use this effect to gain trust quickly, especially in situations where they need cooperation, vulnerability, or emotional openness. A slight reflection of body language, repeating certain phrases, or aligning tone can create a sense of unearned closeness. Used ethically, mirroring is a valuable tool for building improving relationships and strengthening leadership skills. But in the hands of a manipulator, it becomes a psychological trap, creating a bond that feels real but is entirely engineered. Once trust is established through mirroring, influencing someone's decisions becomes significantly easier. The fourth tactic is silence pressure, one of the most underrated yet powerful dark psychology tricks. Humans are deeply uncomfortable with awkward silences. When a pause becomes too long, anxiety rises, and the mind starts looking for a way to break the tension. Manipulators take advantage of this psychological discomfort by making a statement or asking a pointed question, and then staying completely silent. The victim feels compelled to speak, explain, justify, or reveal more information than they intended. This technique is commonly used in interrogations, negotiations, and high-stakes conversations because the tension forces the other person into vulnerability. A simple silent stare after a request can make someone agree just to end the discomfort. A lack of response after someone shares something emotional can make them spill deeper details to regain balance. The trick works because silence disrupts the natural rhythm of communication. People expect verbal back and forth. When that rhythm stops, the brain panics slightly, pushing the person to fill the gap. The silence becomes a psychological weight, influencing decisions and revealing hidden feelings. While silence can be used ethically for active listening, a manipulator uses it as a weapon, turning emotional discomfort into control. Our final trick, emotional anchoring, is one of the most advanced dark psychology techniques because it bypasses logic entirely and taps directly into feelings. Humans rarely remember exact details, but they always remember how something made them feel. Emotional anchoring uses this bias to attach a specific emotion: fear, excitement, guilt, pleasure, loyalty to a particular person, message, or situation. Manipulators use emotional anchors to control reactions. For example, they may create a positive emotional experience and associate themselves with that feeling, making the person subconsciously feel good when they interact with them. Or they may induce guilt or fear, anchoring a negative emotion to a certain behavior so the victim avoids it. Advertisers anchor pleasure and desire to products. Toxic partners anchor anxiety to independence. The technique is everywhere. Once an anchor is formed, all it takes is a word, tone, expression, or gesture to re-trigger the emotion. The person responds automatically, often without understanding why they feel what they feel. The influence becomes long-lasting and deeply internal. Used responsibly, emotional anchoring can strengthen relationships and create positive reinforcement. Used manipulatively, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for long-term psychological control. Dark psychology. Ice and tea about becoming someone who controls or manipulates others. It's about understanding the invisible forces that influence us every single day. The truth is these 5 techniques are already being used on you by advertisers, coworkers, strangers, and sometimes even the people closest to you. But once you recognize these patterns, the power shifts. You stop reacting automatically. You stop being influenced without awareness. And you become someone who thinks consciously, not someone who gets guided by hidden psychological pressures. Use this knowledge wisely. These tools can help you communicate better, negotiate more effectively, and protect yourself from manipulation. But remember, The strongest mind is not the one that controls others, it's the one that can be controlled. If you found this video valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to understand how deeply psychology shapes their daily life. And if you want more videos on influence, behavior, and the darker side of the human mind, stay tuned because this is only the beginning. The more you learn, the harder you are to manipulate.